Milos. I'm just checking in from my phone so I can read these comments. Hey, whew. Now this one is some foolery here. So I've already started playing with the layers and whatnot, and trying to get this kind of gold chrome effect using filters and just different effects like embossing and everything. So I think I'm almost getting there, and I'll break down what the steps are, but honestly it's a lot. Let me see what I got here. So this is one smart object, so if I change the photo out, of course it's going to show you how that updates. And I do this also to test how it does with different size photos, different resolution. So I'm just playing with it now to make sure that whatever we put in here, I really want to be about this size, so we get the same level of detail, especially in the face. I need to bring in some new players too. But this happens to be, as a matter of fact, I'm supposed to be working on some graduation invitations for my baby, and I have been slacking, you know. So hopefully when I finish this, it'll give me some artwork, because I'm sure he'll think this is pretty cool, because this is one of the photos that he wanted on his graduation invitation. So I might incorporate that on there. Alright, so I am trying to get the liquid effect here, trying to make it look like it's kind of 3D when all it is a bunch of offsets and bevels. And let me show you what happens when I use the brush. Nope. I gotta put my original photo underneath. Alright, and that's my subject photo. So I'm going to use my black brush on this layer here, which is the layer mask. And I'm going to see what it looks like when I bring out some of his face, maybe a little bit of his hands. And then that'll also help me gauge what my effects are doing. And this type of mode here, you kind of have to work opposite. You don't know what these effects are doing, because a lot of times we're reversing these effects. So I think I'm almost done with this. And bring back that color there. Make it a little golden around his face. There we go. And then I can go back with the black, reduce my brush size. And this is actually a template that I'm working on for a customer. So I'm almost done going through these templates, guys. But when I do, I'm going to take a little break, and we'll get into a little bit more work. Now, I'm going to show you how we can do the drips. Should we do the drips on the layer of the photo? Let's test it out and see. I'm going to take these drips. I'm going to double click my smart object, And I'm going to get rid of all this stuff here just so I don't have too much on here. And I'm going to take my drips. Now these drips were just paint brushes. I can go to my brushes. And where are drips? This is my dripping brush, and then these are drops. So you can have drips and drops. Let me go ahead and do 4 and 5. So what I did was I created a group of each drip style. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a new layer for, what is that? That's drip 4. Right click so I can increase my size of my brush. And that's going to be 4. And let me make sure I have my opacity and my flow all the way up because I want it to be a black brush. There we go. So that's going to be called drip 4. And then we'll do a new layer for drip 5. And basically, even if you don't have drip brushes, you can pretty much just find a drip, the PNG version of it, and do the same thing that I'm doing right now. Drip underscore 5. And I think we're just going to create a drip pattern. My suggestion would be just to have these brushes so that you could literally just click, click, click. And the drips are always going to go vertical. So it's not like you have to twist them around or anything. You're just going to find ways to hang them off. But the reason why I'm doing it this way is because I'm creating a template. So if I'm creating a template, I cannot assume that you all have the drip brushes. So what we're going to do is make these drips pretty much design elements, and we will move them around. So Rona, this one is for you, love. I told you I was going to do my absolute best to go on and get to this one today. So this is part of the gold series. I have one more to do, and I think that one's Ken's. He had a gold one too, and I think that one is like a sketchy gold, like a black and white sketched image with some gold accents. So that one's going to be fun too. And right now I'm just trying to decide if I want to put my drips on my image layer or my smart object. I may just do that. As a matter of fact, this is what I'm going to try out. I'm going to copy and paste this drip here. I have layer style here. I'm going to copy and paste the layer style on all of these. So I'm going to create a group for all the drip 5s, and we'll call it drip 5 group. And then this one will be grouped drip 4 group. And all the drip is referring to is the style that it is. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different style drips. Then that way it gives me some variation here. I'm going to go ahead and copy the layer style from drip 1. Select all of these and paste the layer style. Oh, you know what? I have something I said I was going to set up. Let me see this thing. What it does, so I can set it up to show my keystrokes and my mouse clicks. And I tested it out earlier and it's so annoying. But if it helps you all see where I'm clicking, let me know if this helps. Because if it doesn't help, I won't use it because it is a little more annoying. But if it helps you all, I will definitely deal with it. Let me make sure I put my chat on live and not top chat. Alright, so this one, we're going to be together a little bit tonight. I hope you're ready for it. Alright, so I just added like a little bevel and emboss to it, but I think that what I'll do, let me go to go to the smart object, and we're going to grab all of these drips. And I'm just going to drag the drips onto, if I can see what I'm doing, right click, give me my drips. And I'm just going to test real quick to see if I want to keep my drips on this layer or if I want to keep them separate. And these are in no actual order right now. We'll resize them and everything in a minute. I'm just trying to get an idea before I commit. This is part of my process, creating templates, is I'm trying to figure out what the process is for you all whenever you get ready to edit it. So that's what I'm going through at the moment. So we bring the photo on top of the drips, and let's just see with those black drips how it looks. Okay, so that did it. That did what I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that it was going to have the same kind of effect as on the photo, and it does. If I can zoom in here, I can show you. You see how it has the metallic look to it. So I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to stick with editing our drips. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with one drip group at a time. So this is drip 1. So all of my drip style ones looks like this. I'm going to drag it to where I want it to be. Control, I don't know what Control R is. Control T is what I was trying to do. And I was holding down Shift in order to, oh, look at it. It even tells you what I'm doing on the keyboard. I'm hitting the up key. This is better. Y'all let me know how y'all like this. If it's distracting, like it's covering up stuff on the screen you need to see, let me know. So now I'm holding down Alt. Oh, and I don't have to tell you, but I'm still going to say it. I'm just used to that. When I hold down Alt, it is making a copy. So right now, that's not what I meant to do. And then we're going to redo that. What I was trying to do, I was actually supposed to be messing with drip 1, and I got into messing with drip 5. So drip 1, and I don't have auto select on right now. I told you something. I have a love-hate relationship with auto select. So I'm going to turn it on right now just so I can see if it's actually going to help me. I will. This is a really long one, so I'm going to Control T allowed me to transform it. And this is going to be hard. This is not going to be a 10-minute template, only because just like the one with the flames, technically you can make it a 10-minute template the less drips you do. But if you try to get very specific with where you put your drips and how you're doing it, this could take you some time. And right now I'm just placing them anywhere. I'm not even resizing them. I'm just kind of getting the idea of where I might want these particular drips. And I'm keeping in mind that if it's a long drip, I want to be able to see it. Okay, so that might be all that I do for drip 1 for right now. Let's go into drip 2 and let's grab it. And if I don't know where it is, drip 2 is down here. Let's flip and pull it out and see what size it is. And I'm just going to Alt and drag, because that gave me another copy. Drag again, gives me another copy. And you see it's kind of like if you were imagining drawing icicles. You just don't want the same exact pattern over and over again, so you want to randomize it. And again, we'll actually go through and randomize the sizes of these two. Now if you have the brush, I'm going to show you a little something with this brush situation. So let me show you how this would be simpler if you had the brush. And this is what I'm going to encourage. You would not have to have, let's just say drip brush, right? So if you had your drip brush and I wanted to clear that out and put a new layer in there, fresh new layer, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to group these as drip PNGs, because that's technically what they are when you get them, because they're not brushes unless you actually have the brush installed. So let me show you a little something. Now I don't have to put all these on different layers. I can grab my drip one and it's going to vary the sizes for me. And if I think it's something that's like too small or looks crazy, then I can click it off of the board. And matter of fact, I might make this a little bit bigger. There we go. So that looks like that would have to, and this isn't behind the image, so I can even make it hang from this hand over here. And hand right here. And this is just drip one, so I haven't even gotten into my variation of drips. And I'm doing my best to make it so that it actually drips coming down, so I wouldn't see anything really dripping off of his shoulder. That one might be a little too long, but shoot, let's do it there. Let's see. Grab something, put something on the knee, the shoe. That one's too long, so like I said, if you don't want it, do it off the board and let it resize. Off the board, let it, and this is quite simpler than attempting to resize all of those different drips. So that would be my drip one, and if I wanted to, I could call that drip one. Problem is that now that I did this with brushes, all of those are the same thing. They're on the same layer. If I touched anything, then I'll turn this photo off. If I touched any of this, then it would technically be merged together just like a PNG. But fortunately, we have spacing between them, so if I needed to cut them out, it wouldn't be that hard. Alright, let's go on to drip 2. Like I said, we're just going to do some variation here. That one did not touch anything. I want to make sure it's actually touching his person so that it makes sense. You don't want to see a floating drip. So yeah, that one kind of came off a little bit. I need it to be behind the image. I don't need to see the origin of the drip. And let's see, now it's starting to look a little bit repetitive. So let's go on to 3. And you can change your brush sizes too. I've just been pretty much setting it once and then rocking with it however it goes. But you get the idea here. Now I may need to have some drips in front of him. If I wanted something to drip from his arm up here, I can still do that. I would just need to create a layer on top here and give myself those same effects. And I might even like brush away where it goes over on this skin. Now this is not required. This is a little me going a little extra step, as I tend to do. Let's do drip. Go on to drip 5. And drip 5 is a little bit stragglier. Yeah. And now I am beginning to kind of overlap some of my drips because there's some that I prefer versus the others. So, and that one is just way too small to do anything with. What are you doing, sir? I'm going to right click and increase the brush size on this one because this one has a huge variation in sizes. Look at that. It went from that tiny little thing to that. And that's not going to work. We go back to my background layer and add my drips there. And I can't figure out any way to put that big drip. Put it right there. And I think I need a little bit coming off of the foot. So it looks like I have some off of the hair there. It works. And then if I wanted to, I can actually kind of add little, if I grab my hard brush, and the hard brush is just a brush that you have. Everybody has that. You have your soft round and your hard round brush. Bring down the size a little bit. And if I want to create these little squigglies around it, I'm going to give myself a little bit more brush room. And I'm going to do this on a separate layer because I don't want to touch my drips just in case I don't like something that I did. You see how I'm just kind of making it look like melted chocolate? And this is just kind of giving it something to connect to. So it's not just drips coming from nowhere. And I'm randomizing it a little bit by trying to make it wavy. Now these are all optional steps because, you know, in your template, if you're just trying to go, then you might end up, oh, that was way too much there. You might end up just doing the drips and not doing the little wavy line. If you were doing this on a tablet, it probably would be much faster to do your waves and your drips because you'd just be tapping on the screen. I'll be doing some tutorials in the future too. I have Affinity Photo on two iPads, so I'm going to start playing with those because when I do events, I want to be able to, I'm going to add some kind of squigglies around here too, just to imply that there's some drips on the other side. I'm going to start using the Affinity Photos, see what I can make work with that, so I don't always have to bring the laptop out, or like when I do the flea market, the kids can pretty much run the iPads and do design. So I think I'm okay with this right now. Honestly, I'm gonna take off the front drips right now because I would have to work on that a little bit more, and I don't want to present anything to you all that I wouldn't like, but I do want you to see the difference. And let me copy the layer style from drip 5, and I'm going to add that layer style to my drip brush. So now you see it kind of has that little 3D effect to it, and I just want you to see that that was a difference between just popping your brushes wherever you want them and then not having a brush and just moving those. So when I do the template tutorial for this one, I'm going to have to show the difference between both. But this is, you know, pretty much working with it from scratch, so it is however we need it to be. Oh shoot, I forgot to put the actual ones that I want on there. So let me double click and bring it back. That's the one I wanted to keep. And let's see how it looks with the little squigglies around them. Yeah, I like that better. It makes it look all melted. Awesome, awesome. And then another thing you can do, some of these drips have like lower opacity and that sort of thing. You can play with that too, but I'm trying to make this one as simple as possible so I don't give you too many steps. I told y'all my goal now, and this actually came from Nate, suggestion from Nate, is to try to make the steps as simple as possible. But I also want to give you big impact. I want it to look like something that your typical person cannot do with the template or with the file that they bought off of Etsy. This is supposed to make you look like an artiste. Alright, so I'm thinking I can take these brushes now. I'll just group them. I might pull them back later. Alright, what else do we need to do? Same thing to the text. And I tell y'all, I do all this stuff, and then when I have to go back and create a template, I pretty much have to learn how to do it all over again. Let me pull that up. And, you know what I need to do? I need to link all of these layers. Because, boy, if I were to move one of those and the other one didn't move with it, I'd be in trouble. Now, the other thing is you have with those brushes, you have the drops, too. So, the drops the drips are the long strings. The drops are like individual little pieces, kind of like a teardrop, and you can have little drops hanging down there too. But like I said, I'm gonna keep it simple with just the drip. And let's see if we can recreate. I don't even remember what font that is. Mariana. Just type in there, and let me do the color. We'll set the default color as black. I believe I know what font that is. Use it all the time. It is I think Huskies. Yep, Washington Huskies. Alright. And I'm just going to squish this in a little bit because it was made to look a little skinnier and taller. And if I hold down the shift key, then I can reshape it proportionately. Now, what I am going to do is try to make this like match the level of, because these filters are very intense. So what I'm trying to do is not have filters on everything. So if I can reduce the filters and have it just on the photo, then we should be able to simulate this look on the text. So let's go to our blending options and our styles. I think what I'm going to go with, and these are some that I already have installed. I'm going to have to just create it. So reset to default. And let's do a gradient overlay. And as a matter of fact, I'm trying to figure out why I'm not seeing my text right now. Oh, one of the effects that I used last, or the layer styles that I used last, had a lot of transparency. So it will say the last time you did something and use it in that way. So if you reset it, if you come down here, like if you did a lot of crazy stuff here the last time you played with any of the layer styles, you can just reset to the default list. You can even delete the hidden effects. So if you're not using anything, you can delete that. I do that like sometimes when I see all of this stuff here and I only have one thing checked, like I only have a color overlay, I will actually go to delete the hidden effects and it will make all this other stuff disappear. But right now I want all this extra stuff because I want to show you what we can play with. I am going to do, let's see if I even want to start with the gradient. I'm going to start with a wide range gradient first. And then we're actually going to play more with the bevel and emboss. And let me change my styles back to none. Because one of the things that I used last has a lot of transparency to it. There's even one that makes it look like glass on here if it were in a dark background. But you know what? I told you I was doing this one from scratch. But I also want to give y'all cool stuff, you know, in the template. So this is one that has a I'll show you what it is. It has a pattern. And you can get fancy with this stuff. When you put patterns in there, it's actually using an image to fill inside. And you have to make sure it's a pattern that that once you repeat it, it doesn't look too bad. And this one can actually be scaled and resized so that you either see it more continuous looking or it starts to look more like a pattern when you make it smaller. Kind of like diamond plated, and I think I might even have a diamond plated one in there. So we'll go with this one, and then for the color overlay, think I'm even going to turn the color overlay off. The gradient overlay right now is on the blend mode of overlay. I'm going to turn it to color so I get the silver color, because what I like to do, I like to start with silver for everything and then I can always recolor it later. So silver is kind of like your white background when you're talking metallics. So if you make it look good in silver, it will look good with any other color. Color dodge right now on the yellow. I said I'm going to make it neutral, inner glow. And here's a secret too, if you're trying to make everything neutral, wherever the default color is for something that was saved, just pull it all the way to the left and it'll give you that same value. So this is your value, whether you're very, very light and closer to white, or the value is very, very dark, closer to black. So this has the same value of one of the colors that was picked over here. Let's see, that's going to be screen. Something else I'm looking at, the stroke. Okay, so for the stroke, I do love a good gradient on a stroke, so I'm going to choose one of my chrome looking strokes. I like that one better. And then what I will do is I will, instead of linear, I'm going to do reflected, and that's just going to double the number of times that gradient appears within this area. And you can change your scale here. You can also change the angle, and I do like to have the outline here. Let me increase the stroke so you can see what I'm talking about here. So the outline, I like to have the outline at a different angle than the actual gradient. Like if the gradient's going up and down here, my outline I like to have going at angles because it looks like it has a little more dimension. And this is the scale that I'm playing with now. Let me bring the size back down and you'll see what I'm talking about. Just makes it look a little more believable. Alright, and then I wanted it to be a little bit darker than the inside, and then of course we got to play with this beveling and this emboss. Let's see, the gloss contour. I'm going to let it be screen for the highlight. And I'm trying to see if I can get it to bubble a little bit. Let me see, inner bevel. Let's do pillow emboss. Yeah. So I got pillow emboss on right now. It's a little bit extreme with the depth. I'm gonna bring it down. You see how I'm playing? I'm just playing with these things. I don't know exactly what to select until I start selecting it. So yeah, we want it to look kind of like when you have your epoxy kind of work and you have that bubbled or what they call doming look to it. That's what I'm going for right now. So I want to see color kind of dome just a little bit. Now I may need to put some color on here. I'm going to do another gradient overlay. So I'm going to click this plus sign. It's going to give me a second gradient overlay. And this time I'm going to choose normal just to see what I'm looking at. And let's say I want this purple and gold. I'm just going to choose a any two color gradient that's already there. And I'll choose the first stop. Let's do that. Purple. I'm trying to get more of the true purple and not that dark black purple. If I don't see what I want, then I just make it. Alright, so purple there. And then for the gold, we're going to go with more like a brassy gold. Normally I could even choose a gold from here. Like my golds to be, I prefer for my golds to be more Vegas gold, but for this design, we're gonna make it match. A little dark. Let's bring it up. Alright, we got a little plan to do here too. As a matter of fact, I could have taking my gold. I think that's what I'll do. No, I shouldn't have done that. I kind of want to do more of a pure 2 color on top. 1 and 2. I'm just not happy with these golds. Maybe when I start doing my effects, it'll play. Alright, so we'll save that, and let's do the satin overlay. Just turn it on and off and see what it's doing. That satin is, if you see all of these little extra lines that are in here, that's what satin does. Satin can make something look really glossy. It can be a little distracting too. It just depends on how extreme you're making that effect. So in this case, said I'm just playing. I don't know what it's gonna look like or end up being until I step back from it. And this one, let me see if I use another custom. I'm going to create a custom contour. So when I clicked on that contour, you see the more peaks and valleys I create, the more it's giving me that little, oops. Ah, I just learned something. I didn't know I can actually click here on the image and it would modify the look of what I'm working on. I knew I could do that for the drop shadow. I did not know that I could do that for the satin. That's cool. Save it as is for right now. And let's see. This is where we want. Size is almost where we want. And I think I'm going to go with a darker. Ooh, no, the lighter makes it look like it's like reflecting something really bright in the room. I think I like that. Alrighties, let's see. We also need to do something with this stroke and let's see, the inner glow. Instead of an inner glow being white, I'm going to make the blend mode be normal, and then I'm going to make it black, and then I'll change this the choke and the size to get more of what I want. I might even have to play with the range a little bit. And I just want it to look like really puffy, like puff paint, kind of puffy. And I think I'm getting there. So there's texture in here right now. Let me see how much of this texture I want to be visible, or if I want any texture at all. I think I'll turn that texture off. This contour I'm not seeing right now, so let me see if there's something I can do to it. I think that's a good contour. What I'm looking for is I'm wanting to see it rounded. I'm wanting it to look like I have like a emblem and I filled it with epoxy on top of whatever my metallic color was. And then I can do dissolve and kind of make it look glittery, but see, we're going for a brand new thing here. Stroke. I like the stroke silver, but that's not going to work for our design. So let's do bring down our drop shadow a little bit. That's the opacity, distance, spread, and the size. I'm going to add my stroke back. I think that drop shadow was kind of throwing me off. So in this case, I did my stroke. Like I said, if I keep it silver, I can always go back and make it golden on top. So I'm going to keep my silver, add the stroke once again, and this time I'm going to do a color. And let's say I choose my gold, which is crazy because I don't know why I'm trying to choose from that. Let's go with that darker gold. And now instead of the blend mode being normal, I think I'll change it to color. Nope, not color. Opacity is 100%. Oh, you know what? Let me make sure that my first stroke is on normal. First stroke is on normal. And then second stroke, I'm going to put overprint on. That's what I need to happen. So overprint is going to print it over the previous stroke. And let's do... I think now I can do the color. But I'll see if anything else looks good too. Overlay works. I think I like overlay. And I'm not crazy about this gold yet, but I'm going to leave it alone so I don't spend too much time on it. You know how I'll do. I'll end up playing with something and making a entirely different final product by the time I get to it. The spacing here, I'm going to take the spacing and do -50 because I kind of feel like it should be a little bit closer together. Control T is going to allow me to transform it. Alright. Next thing is we need to do drips to our lettering too. And I think I did all of that and I'm probably still I'm going to take all of this, Alt, drag a new one, and let's call this one Gold Chrome Text. And I'm going to have to do this way to make my text a smart object because I don't like that it's not the same look. I try to make it simpler and I don't like it. So I'm going to show you how I would really do this. This is y'all, you know, watching me work. This is not me giving you the simpler tutorial. So I'm just going to go ahead and work as I would really work. So I would have to change all of these smart objects. But at least you'll get to see what all the smart objects do. Let me see if this is even what I want to do. So I'm going to double click on one of my smart objects and change it to, I'll drag my Mariana on there. Back. And then all I'm saying is whether I can appreciate the text for how it is or if I really, really, really want it to have the same effect. So I'm just going to close. You come this way. There you go. Close it out and say, yes, I want to save the changes. And let's see. See, I told you I was gonna like that better. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna go back. As a matter of fact, yeah, this is what I'll do. I'm gonna go back to my smart object because I could do my drips and everything from here. So now let me zoom out. I am going to clear this layer style. Just the same way that you copy and paste layer style, you can clear layer style. And of course, I still have that layer style on my main image. But now I'm going to have to edit this image canvas size. So image canvas size, I'm going to have to make this taller. So my height, I'll do 16. And then I'll keep this towards the center. Say okay. Now give me a little bit of space. So then this way, if I want to lay it out, I can lay it out and create all my drips and everything on this layer. So it was at Mariana and then Bulldogs. Double click on the T. If you want to know if you're center, you just kind of move it around till you see that magenta line pop up in the middle. And you want to see the long line pop up, because a short line usually means it's centered towards an object that's right in front of you and not necessarily the center of the artboard. See my longer line right there. Alright, so I would have to bring Bulldogs up because I need space for it to drip. We need drippage space. And then what I'll do is I'm going to copy the layer style from the drip brush. And then this is going to give it that little 3D look. Ooh, no, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to group this text. And then I'm going to do the layer style, the paste the layer style to that group. And I'm going to tell you, I'll show you the difference in just a second. So if I add this bevel and emboss look to the letters and then go put drips, the drips look flat or they'll look separate. If I want them to look continuous, then I can go back to my paint brushes, back to my drippage, and I have to create a new layer because you can't paint on a text layer. So let's go on my create a new layer. I'm going to bring it below the Mariana. Or you could do it on top. It wouldn't matter. In this case, it's just going to be black. But I'm just going to sporadically drop some drips. And if it's too big, then I'm going to drop it off the edge of the space and keep going. Now remember, you had like 5 different drips, so we can't just take one drip and do this. Well, you can, but it will look repetitive. So let's grab another drip and keep it going. Now, like I said, we could also have taken those drips that I turned into PNGs and move them around, but I guarantee you it's not that much fun. Alright, and I think I can go with, I'm not going to do all 5 drips on this. Where's one that's a little simpler? Let's do 500. There we go. And just a little drip, you know. Alright, so the kids will love this. Let's see. So now that I have this bevel and emboss, my Mariana and the text needs to go. The drips and the Mariana need to go in that folder. And now it looks continuous. And I'll show you the difference. So I'm going to do another version of this just to show you. So with my text and my drip in a folder, I have applied the effect to that folder. Let me show you the difference. If I turn this off, I can apply the effects to these individual elements. Let's paste the layer style. And what do you see? My drips are See how you can see they have their own kind of bevel and emboss to them? And even if I were to bring my drips below the letters, it may not necessarily give me what I want, because I see that stark ending of the letter here and then it drips. That doesn't make sense to me. So I create a group, apply the effect to the group, and then it looks more believable. Just a little tip. Alright, so now to have that, I can technically take my same drips from the Mariana. I'm going to alt drag, so it just made a copy of it, and then that whole layer that I just created, I'm going to pretend like it's going to work for this, and it may not, but it'd be a lot less drips I have to create if any of them really work. And this is a bitmap layer now, so technically this is you know what, let me make sure I bring this all the way up. I don't want any of that. I forgot I had auto select on, but I don't want any of my drips hanging off, because I'm basically going to have to erase some of these. So if I go back to, I want to go to my eraser. I rarely use the eraser, and I want to go to the bottom drips, so I'll call that bottom drip, and we'll call this top drip. Not tip drip, top drip. Okay, so I'm on my bottom drip, and let me decrease the size of my eraser here, and I'm just getting rid of some of the drips that just ain't gonna make no sense, because I can replace a few of them, but I don't have to do all of them. This one kind of went up inside of my lettering a little bit, but I guess I could have just dragged it down a little bit. Here we go. And then I see what's making contact, what's not. I saw something over here that wasn't making contact. So yeah, it could have been just as simple to go ahead and recreate. And this one's not making contact, so I'm going to go ahead and erase that one. And you also see what happens with the opacity of the drip. So you saw before when I was telling you that some of the drips are a little less opaque, you could change the opacity of the drip so that it didn't look so stark. But we're going to keep it simple, flat brush. I'm just letting you know some extra tips along the way, giving you something else to keep you up at night. Alright, so I have my brush on. I'm on my bottom drip layer. I'm going to randomly do some more drips. And let's do a 300. Yeah. I feel like I've done this on a tutorial before. I've shown y'all drips on a tutorial before. Or maybe I was just talking to myself as I normally do when I'm working by myself. I make tutorials even when I'm not trying. That's why I think I was really designed to do this. Alright, so we'll let that be what it is. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything on this end, because I have neglected that side of the design. Alright, so if I want my drips, my bottom drip to stay with the word Bulldogs, not only am I going to pull it below Bulldogs, I'm going to control, select my Bulldogs with my bottom drip, and I'm going to hit this link. So now when I move something around, they move as one piece. Okay, and that just basically gives me a little more control there. And I probably should have made these drips on the end. That's what I'm going to do. My bottom drip, let me go into that one, and I'm going to erase this extra long drip off the end and replace it, because basically I'm not going to be able to get close to my edge of the paper. So I'm going to replace. Oh duh, I'm on delete. Get my paintbrush back. So click off. I do want a thicker one, but I just didn't want it that long. Alright. That didn't satisfy me either. Let me get another. Let me get that 400. Keep clicking till I get one a little bit bigger. And there we go. Alright. I'm alright with that. So now, again, my Bulldogs and my bottom drip are linked. I'm going to do the same thing with my Mariana and my top drip. Select both of those and link them. Then this way, when I Control T, if I want to stretch out my words, or my drips, they go together. This also lets me know when I'm getting close to the edge there. So there we go. And then we'll take our subject here. Now I'm going to also link our subject with all of this drippage that we created. So control, so have one thing selected, control select the next thing, and then I want to link them. That way when I move him now, his drips move right along with them. Alright, let's see what we're looking like when we close out and save. And you know I haven't saved this whole time. Oopsies. So at least I'm doing alright today as far as computing power. And make sure y'all still with me. Yep, Rona, I'll save the original text. I got that one too. And the reason why I'm saving it, because I want you all to have this effect. So basically, if you were retyping any of this stuff, you could take just this. Like some people will get the template just because it has a certain type of effect on the text. And like the remembrance shirt of text, how it has that gold text effect. I've seen people take that text effect and use it on other designs that they do just because they really like how that goes. So this will be saved in there as well. Alright. So in order for, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to take this, my word Mariana, and make it invisible for right now. This one, I'm just using it as a reference. Alright, so we're looking like our design a little bit more already. And it also looks like instead of black for the text, I'm going to go in and brighten up that text a little bit. Let's double click. I think instead of, and this is the beautiful thing about a group too, I can just do an effect on the color. I can do a color overlay, and right now it's got that gold kind of barely showing there, but I'm going to do another color overlay. As a matter of fact, let me change that color overlay to same value but a gray. Like I say, if you keep it gray, you keep it kosher as far as manipulating it in the future. So I'm going to let that one, bring that one to the top, the gray one. Then this one, I'm going to change the blend mode to normal. And you see how it just changed it to that gold color. But I think I'm going to change it to a nice neutral gray tone. As a matter of fact, if you came over here and did like HSB or LAB or whatever, let's do HSB. I'm going to do 0, 0, and 50. Basically, I'm telling it it's a 50% black. A 50% black means that whatever color you apply to it is pretty much going to accept that true color. And you can always go darker and lighter based on your effects. But if you choose a mid-range gray, and that's also, let's see, if you were doing CMYK, I think you can do CMYK, do zeros for CMY because that stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and then you could do 50% for black and it would give you about the same effect. So, and it's so funny because you think that all of that would equal the same hex number. No. You see how those blacks are totally different? And it's because the way that the monitor displays is RGB, so you're trying to simulate CMYK on your monitor, and usually when your printer is printing, you're printing with CMYK inks, but it's actually interpreting RGB color. It's really weird, especially your Epsons, your desktop Epsons and that sort of thing. Commercial printers use CMYK, but most of your household printers and your semi-professional printers actually design with RGB in mind. It's silly, but it is what it is. Offset printers that print like business cards and banners and that sort of thing, you'll see a lot of times they will force you to send them designs in CMYK, because that is how they make sure that they have their colors on point. That's the system that they use for offset printing. Let's see. I think that'll work because I think I can add my colors, but I kind of got a little bold and made everything touch. So let's see how that looks. Let's see. Let's save it and update it. What's going on? What we looking like? Too light. So I'm gonna go back and make it darker. And I'm just trying to get my little perfect color. Well, oh, I forgot to add that one back. Maybe that's what it was. Let me see. I forgot to add my little highlight back. Ooh, it looks like real metal. Y'all, I'd be surprising myself too. I know I'm tickled right now. I hope y'all are just as tickled as me, so I don't feel slow by myself. Alright. Let's see, any questions so far? I was going to chime in and see if y'all, because you know I just talk for days. Hey Octavius, thank you. Pam, you caught a live. Welcome. Yeah, this one is a little complicated, but it's a design that I have to do because Rona actually ordered this when we had the template sale, and this was one of the ones that I was putting off because it's really hard to design as a template. But we're getting into it tonight, so you get to see some advanced techniques tonight. And I don't know if it'll be tomorrow. I also have some affinity templates to create. So what I will end up doing is recreating the fire flame template in Affinity, which you all should still watch if you do Photoshop because the features are almost the same. But if I do a tutorial, then y'all will get to see how I built, because I got a lot of requests for how we built that one from scratch. That one, and then there's another one. I forget what I named it, but it was a grunge template that was done right about the same time. And you all requested to see it live. So I am going to do it live, but because it's already created in Photoshop, I'm going to do it live in Affinity. But usually when I'm doing Affinity, I will tell you all what your alternative will be in Photoshop. It's almost literally the same program. So, but there are some limitations in Affinity as far as a lot of the things that I'm doing right now in Photoshop with the advanced filters, we will not be able to do those things in Affinity. So if you watch an Affinity tutorial, you probably will not end up with all of these super extravagant things that I've done. But you see how this made this text just, ooh, do y'all see that? It looks real drippy and real gold, like liquid gold. So I think that's what I call this template, liquid gold. Alright, so if I wanted to do some color, let me see. We did purple to the gold. So what I'm going to do to make this simpler, let me see if y'all have any questions before I go on. Alright, let's see. And I have this background image to kind of play with too. Alright, so drip. Then we have the text. We were going to add some color to the text. So if you don't want just your traditional gold there. And then I have my reveal. Oh, I know what happened. My reveal layer messed up because when I moved my image, I didn't have all this linked, which was my bad. Oh no, when I added the text, it changed that. So let me do this. I'm going to right click, delete that layer mask, and I'm going to give myself a fresh new layer mask. So the reason why this mask is here is to reveal the original photo, which is underneath here. which in this case, I can delete that. I don't need two versions of it. And this is the one I'm going to edit. Right click, delete layer mask. Now you see what I go through when I'm creating these templates. I create a whole bunch of randomness, and then I have to kind of like kill some of it to make it make sense. And I'm also thinking for my original image, I'm just going to try a little something. I don't know what this is going to do yet, so I'm telling you what I'm doing, but I don't know what it's going to do. I'm going to see what happens when I play with the lightness of the image. So I'm going to do a layer, new adjustment layer. Let's do some levels. And we'll use the previous layer to create a clipping mask because I'm only going to change the levels of this photo. And what I'm trying to see is if I have more contrast, less contrast, lighter, darker, how my effects that I've created play on that. So I'm going to make it almost look washed out right now. And then I'm going to save it and see what happens. Like whether it gives me a lighter gold or I lose details. Okay, so I think I'm going to go the other direction, go darker. Like I said, this thing works completely opposite, y'all, whenever you're working with these type of effects. As a matter of fact, no bueno. Just working with the majority of these are backwards, so you don't know what it looks like until you reverse it. And I think I'll take my drips, and I liked how the gold played on the gray instead of the black, so I will probably copy the layer style from my text now, and I'm going to paste that layer style to my drips. And let's go back to my levels, and this is non-destructive, so I'm playing with these levels, but it's not hurting my image. I can always delete this when I'm done. So I want to see, do I need to go darker and more contrast so I can get more details or what? Let's see. Nope, that didn't help me any. Let's try again. Let's do lighter, lights, we'll go towards black is making it a little washed out. And the majority of his clothing is white too, so what happens is with that white, it makes it black, so it inverts it. And that's one of the ways that it makes it look. And I'll just stick with it as original. I was really trying to get like and I can see it a little bit, wanting the skin to kind of have that same kind of liquid effect to it. So I may end up playing with it some more. You know, I don't give up. As a matter of fact, let me paste the layer style to this. I know that sounds weird, but I'm going to delete my levels. And then with the effects, let's see if I do a blend mode. I gotta do something to knock it out, I think. And I want to go with my color overlay. Alright, so that one I didn't want to change. This one I want to change. Still hue. Bevel and Emboss is cool, but something else. Oh, hold on. The drip is behind it doing that. So I don't know if I'm going to get away with that. Let's take it off. Because I'd rather have the 3D on the drip and not on the face if I don't get it on the face. Alright, so back at it. The drips look better to me now. They look a lot more, I don't know if y'all can see this on the screen, but the drips look a lot more like pure liquid drips rather than before. When they were black, they were a little bit darker, so it didn't look as liquid as I would have wanted it. But I'm happy with that. And then, like I said, usually I don't leave the gold effect on the face. I like to let that show through, but you can absolutely leave it just like that. However, I got my subject, and I'm going to close this down. So I'm going to use the brush to reveal the photo. So grabbing my brush, I'm going to make sure I grab soft brush and make sure that I'm actually on this layer mask. Bring my size down a little bit. Got 100% flow and opacity on right now, so it should remove color really quickly if I had black selected. So you see down here I had white selected in my foreground. So black is going to conceal, white's going to reveal. And I kind of like it on this side of his face a little bit. Kind of looks statuesque. And maybe just a little bit. I like the chains being gold. Then I may come back with the white and a little bit larger brush, and I might soften up and add back a little bit. And see, I just added that little hard line right there to the edge of his face. A little stuff like that. It's just going to be your preference. Alright, so drip is done, text, and then I was going to show you if you want to do a color. Let's do, let's just do it as a whole new layer. We'll do a new layer. And I know y'all like to see use of this gradient tool, so let's do that. So instead of the fill bucket, you have an option to use a gradient tool. And I'm going to choose a color to transparent. Now, whatever color I have selected here is my default, is going to be the color it works from. So I'm going to make a purple. Make sure your purples aren't close to blue. And make sure your blues aren't close to purple. As a matter of fact, anytime I have a blue that it looks blue on the screen, I will intentionally pull it away from blue, away from the purple, towards more of the center blue, or even towards the green, because when you print sublimation, it will throw you off every time, and you will have some purpley blues. I don't know if you've ever had blurples before on any of your jobs, but sublimation, it gets confused from the violet and the blue, and then it also gets confused sometimes with reds, pinks, and orange. So you just be careful with those colors. And I was choosing purple while I'm talking about blue. I want a purple. But I'm going to choose a little bit dark. And I'm going to create a gradient. Let's go from the top. I'm going to choose start in the inside meat. Matter of fact, let me not start in the inside meat so I can show you. If I start from the outside, I'm going to hold down shift because that's going to keep my gradient straight. See how my purple doesn't even start to touch it? If I start from the inside meat and I pull down, I get my pure purple starts within what I'm working on. So that's just a tip. And then I'm going to right click and create a clipping mask. So that's going to clip inside of that text there. So I can do Control T now to transform, and I can transform. Oopsies. I want to hold down shift so I can transform it disproportionately. But I can pick how much of my purple goes in there. That's just another way to use your gradients. Sometimes you'll have all this junk on the outside of your picture and you just want to fade it from white. Do the same thing. Take white and do white to transparent and drag that from the edges of your paper. And then that way you don't have a hard edge, and whatever trash is out here on the edge, you will never know. From here, instead of just letting it layer, normally I want to see, I worked so hard to get that metallic look. I want it to look metallic. So I'm going to play with my blend mode here and see which one is going to give me what I want. I think we might end up doing color because it's already got gold to it. So a lot of these, when we do a different blend mode, it's the color, just like sublimation, how when you sublimate onto a color, it changes the color of what you're actually trying to achieve. So here, what I'm thinking, honestly, my darken, I think, kind of did it without taking on too much of that gold look. And then if I really want my Mariana and like my text separate, I could do these as separate layers. Like I said, I'm trying to keep it simple for template terms so that you don't have all these things, all these smart objects to open. So you have one smart object, you play with it. As a matter of fact, you probably could have even done your, yeah, let's do that. I could have done my color on the other layer. Let me show you that. So let's turn that one off. Show you color on the other layer. And I can do Mariana. It has no effect on it right now, but I do have a color overlay here right now. And it's over both of the text. So I showed you how to do a gradient to color. Now let's do something else. Let's do something funky. Let's paint. Why not? I'm always telling y'all about these brushes. So let's do I haven't used my little swooshes. Let's swoosh it out. Let's see. These are some little swooshes that I created based on a vector. And you know what? I should have not been so lazy, and when I created this brush, I should have given it some kind of dynamic property. So I'm going to tell it to do some spacing here. I'll tell it to flip. I want it to vary. So let's see, scattering. I don't need it to scatter. I need, here we go. Angle jitter. So angle jitter is each time I click, it's going to change the angle of it up. Roundness jitter. We'll keep roundness there. That kind of makes it oval or not. I like the angle jitter. Size jitter is going to vary whether it's going to be larger or smaller every time I click. Just like the brushes, we're getting larger and smaller with the drips. Yeah, do I want it to flip? Yeah, I want as much randomness as possible with this one. So, sorry, I'm getting into something else. Let's do a new layer. And this way, you'll see. Need to make my brush a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on. You see how it's changing the size, it's moving it around. And I'm just building on this. And basically what I'm trying to show you is that you can create a texture effect with color rather than I had to bring it on top of that text there. So that's what it's doing. And then let's clip it to that layer. Create a clipping mask. And it's something I have to do to my effects to let, I think it's that one on, that one off. Some weirdness. Excuse me, guys. Don't want to knock out. It's supposed to be this one on, that one off. And I usually turn those on. And this one does not have a knockout. Fill opacity is 100%. Oh, there it goes. It's on there. Alright, so what I was trying to show is that you can kind of do effects rather than just color all the time. So I don't have to just fade it. I can use brushes. And it makes it look a little abstract. Sorry for this little mouse noise now, but oh, and I went over his shoe a little bit. I didn't want to do that. So in that case, let me grab my eraser. And let me stop being lazy and grab a real brush. Oh, that is purple. That's his socks right there. I thought I'd put that there. I'm like, it's not erasing. Alright, so alright, so I get that effect there. If I want to turn the actual gold off, I do my color balance here and it can be silver now. So that's going to be a big deal when you're doing things that you want to recolor. And what else? I just thought it was a little flat looking, so I wanted to make that do something else. Still got the purple I can add to it. Honestly, I like it without the purple only because I can't really see purple in this design right now because I think it was the background that had purple in it. And I'll have to find this logo. So I'm trying to figure out where it was and what I did with it. This is, I'm sure I have it. The Mariner High School uses, I think it's like the Georgia Tech, is it Georgia Tech? No, the Georgia Bulldog. And it has like an M on the collar, so I have that somewhere. But I wanted to show you how we were able to achieve this background look. So I'll turn it off and let's recreate it. So we need the stamped out version of the logo. Let me find that. Matter of fact, it might even be easier for me to find it on my drive all over again. So it is Bulldog mascot. No, Bulldog Mariana. Let's see what I got. Got so many of these things, and it's an Adobe Illustrator file. Simple black and white. That'll work. That will work. Let's download it. And while I'm talking to y'all in real time with what I'm doing, I have an external hard drive where all of these files are, and then I also have everything backed up on Google Drive. So that would be my suggestion, because these files get really large and really crazy. Then I have like a temporary folder on my actual computer, like while I'm working on things. Because one thing I will also advise you to do is not work on artwork that you have saved on your external hard drive, especially if it's a large file. The reason why I say that is because sometimes Photoshop, if it ever abruptly shuts down, if it was on your external hard drive, it more than likely did not save it when it shut down. If you were playing with it off of your hard drive, chances are it would have at least saved it to where, it'll save a version of it. Or I think it's like a recovery version, I think is what they call it. Alright, so this image happens to be a vector. So what all I'm going to do is open it up and just drag it into Photoshop. Because you could have a PNG, you don't have to have a vector. I don't want y'all to feel like you have to have Illustrator. I'm sure you all have some type of vector editing program, even if it's not Illustrator. But Illustrator is the sister program to Photoshop. So Photoshop's bitmap, Illustrator is your vector program. Alright, so these are all my little variations. I had to redraw this. We're doing the white, and then we're gonna clip it. So I'm gonna choose the one that has black and white in it, because I can always take it out if I don't want it. It's a vector, so when I paste it, Control V, I'm gonna paste it as a smart object. Then that way I can always come back to it and delete parts that I don't want. So for this one, the bulldog is really big. He's hanging off the page, a little more abstracted, and then you end up seeing his eyes. And we'll fade it off the edge. So you'll get to see how I do the little fade off the edge too when I'm doing the gradient. So what I can do here, I can automatically go ahead and create a layer mask to do what I want to do with the fade. I'm going to grab my gradient tool here, and I'm going to just do, matter of fact, before I do my gradient, I'm going to reset my colors. Black to white. I want black in the foreground, so that when I come here to my default, I have black to transparent. So foreground to transparent. So I'm on my layer mask right now. I'm going to come into the inside meat of the folder. Let me show you something, because I don't think y'all be believing me about this inside meat stuff. So when I start my gradient, if I start from out here, I still have junk on my edge. So some of you start from outside and then you do it and it looks, let me show you, it might look like it's clean, but I guarantee you, I don't care how far you pull that gradient, if you start it from outside, you're going to have color on the edge of your paper. If you start from the inside meat, you absolutely will not have any color on the edge there. As a matter of fact, let me make sure I'm doing all my stuff. I need to pull that up a little bit. And that's my opacity here. I'm just pulling up a little bit so that I will not be lying when I tell you you won't have anything on that edge there. And when you do it this way from transparent, you can keep building. That way when you come out, and something's not set right here, because I still see stuff on this edge. I'm guaranteeing you something's not right. Let me delete the layer mask, take this image and bring it all the way to the bottom, because I'm thinking something else is playing on that right now. Don't know, but I don't like it. Okay, there we go. Alright, so I pulled it in from the sides there, and I'm not destroying my image. I'm not painting white on top of it. I'm just playing with the layer mask. And technically I don't really have to do a layer mask to the top and bottom right now, but I probably will, because I'm going to use the same layer mask. Oh, I forget that well, when it does a shortcut, now it's in my way. Alright, so on my layer mask, shift, pulling it up, and then I'm going to pull it down from the top. And you'll see in just a moment why I'm doing that. It created this little vignette. And let's do a new layer. And we're going to paint the same way I painted before with the brush and the abstract little swirls. You can do any kind of paint. You can do splash paint. You can do whatever abstract symbols you want to play with. I'm just playing with the swooshes because I finally get to play with the swooshes. And every time I redesign something, I'm never going to redesign it the same way. That's just the artist in me. Like, it won't let me do something exactly the same way. So we're going to see what this does. And of course, we're going to drag it. It's below our bulldog. I'm going to grab this same layer mask, and if I hold down Alt and drag it down, it also puts that same layer mask on this layer. And I'm going to play with these blend modes right now. So the blend modes of the bulldog. And I think I need more color in the background. Yeah, let me wait till I get more color in the background so I can see what's going on. So I have that. I have, let's see what else I can throw in here. Some fun stuff. Let's do energy. Energy has some cool little shapes and stuff. And I don't have to worry about painting off the edge because my vignette is kind of taking care of that. And let's grab another brush. We're just building up random brush effects. Let's see what this one does. And as a matter of fact, let me grab new layer. Because I may want this to be stand out more than in the previous image. And I'm going to actually go ahead and put that on top of everything so I can see what it's doing. Cool. Want something with a little bit chunkier effect next. And what else can we do? Now we're going to clean these edges up. So the same way I did the gradient, I could also do this with a brush. And it doesn't have to be the soft round brush. That's just what I happen to use quite often to make it a clean looking edge. And I'm looking for my default brushes. Soft rounds right there. Here we go. Right click, I can drag that brush size down. So, excuse me, I still want to do a layer mask. And now the same way that I did the gradient, I'm doing the same thing with the brush. I'm just cleaning it up manually. And then this way I have a little more control over my edges. If I want to let, you know, some of the image come closer to the edge versus another part of the image, I don't have to be so exactly straight. I do this a lot with the photos because I don't like when my photos look like they're in squares. So I might intentionally create a non-straight edge. And now I might play with my blend modes, play with my layers. So I might put this one on top. And as you can see now, it's kind of letting the logo show through. Or I might put it on the bottom and then do the blend mode change to the top graphic. Like I said, your options are absolutely endless. It's just a matter of what you come up with and how you want to play with it. So I think this is probably more or less what I had before. Let me see. And then some gold is in there. And honestly, I can take this very same thing, do another layer, and now I can paint gold the same way I just painted the purple. And I want to say this one has two different effects on it. It has a little bit in the background, a little bit in the foreground, maybe even changing the opacity with the bulldog itself to let some of the purple show through. Endless opportunities to make design changes. And honestly, it's all about just clicking through and getting what you find visually appealing. Like the hard light, and then I don't really like the swirls. I thought I would like the swirls, but I don't. So I'm going to get rid of the swirls. And I may put something else in the background. And that one has an edge to it. I don't want any hard edges. I'd rather do something that got sparks. That's what I'm looking for. Something like sparks, smoke. Yeah, something a little more exciting. There we go. I'm going to bring that brush size down just a little, which is almost impossible to do. Okay, here we go. And if a particular brush doesn't change sizes for you, you can always create this brush on a new layer. And let me not let it float off the page. Then that way, once I stamp it once, it becomes an object that I can change. So I can change the direction of it so it doesn't look the same. I got that auto select on that's bothering me. Alright. So let me get to where I'm about wrapping this up. So let me do some gold. Let's do a little gold. I'm on a new layer. Do some gold ones too. Control T. And because I don't want it to look like it's the exact same thing, I'm just going to transform it, move it around a little bit. Oops. I thought I hit Alt, but I didn't. So Alt is going to allow me to, on my move mode, it's going to allow me to create a copy of it without disturbing my original one. So I might go there. Grab another one. Maybe this one will be under the feet. Just a little bit of randomness. And I didn't want that the layer 7 splash was a little too close to that edge, so you'll know if something is going past the edge. If when you do Control T, if it's hanging off, then something is out there. So you want to bring it in so that when you print this on a shirt, you don't have any problems. The other thing I know that I need to do, because I need to do a layer mask on here. Matter of fact, before I do layer mask, let me control click. When you control click on the thumbnail of an image, it creates the marching ants around everything that is physically there or visibly there. And then if I create a layer mask on this group, Then I have everything cleaned up from there. I don't think it had any effects coming out, but I've had that happen before when I use these filters. Sometimes it'll have like gray kind of coming out from the edge, especially when I use the Gaussian blur. And then I catch myself having junk on the outside. So I'm going to clean up some stuff here. Rona said that one wanted to keep that one, so we'll keep that one on there. Honestly, I don't really care for that. It's like when I redesign it, just something totally different. These were our little drips, but we have our drips in our smart object now, so we don't need the drips there. And I probably will add a little bit of gold on top of this one. So let's choose a different brush. And then I'll be wrapping up in a little while, y'all. I don't even know if y'all still with me. It's almost, what, 10 o'clock? And I got a meeting tonight. So just to let you all know, I know I've been backed up on artwork and stuff, but there is some exciting stuff in the works. I have some artists who are going to be helping me out. So they're going to be helping to edit these templates for you all when you need edits. That's going to be a big deal. Something's happening here. That linear dodge from here is messing up my gold. There you go. Okay. So that linear dodge was really jacking me up there. And that's how you have to be careful too. Sometimes when you're using the different blend modes, just like with sublimation, if you sublimated purple onto a gold shirt, you're not going to have purple on gold. You already know. You're going to have some variation of brownish, unpredictable concoction. So the same thing happens when you start playing with these blend modes. So what I'm going to do is still allow some of that purple through by changing the hard light there. Oh, this makes it look kind of sketchy like that. I think hard light is what I want there. Anyhow, let some of the logo show through without actually showing the whole logo. I probably could, knowing me, I'm going to probably end up changing this layer because I don't really like it. That's just me. But I do want to stop somewhere tonight. So that's where we'll go. Oh, let's do a drop shadow. Let's take this whole layer, and I guess we can delete that layer mask because it didn't do anything. Let's do a drop shadow on that whole folder and see. And this is how you know if you have some trash in your image. If you put a drop shadow on it and you have like random little pieces of junk like around your image because you didn't cut it out good. Oh yeah, Photoshop will tell you. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do it to this folder because it's actually a combination of this and this with the image showing through. So we'll just call this front image. And then that way I can put a drop shadow on this and it will combine all of those things. We'll do multiply, bring the opacity up, give me some distance spread and some size so I can see what I'm working with. Now I always like make it more extreme and then bring it down. I might even bring down the opacity. And this is the stuff that I like to use because you can tell that whenever you do something like this, it is not your average print and cut or vinyl. Like people know that that is sublimation, or even if they don't know what sublimation is, they know it's not a standard printing process. So I'm just playing right now, trying to see what effect I'm really trying to go with. I kind of like the gold on gold. I always act like shocked when I do something, and it's normally because I don't know what I'm doing when I'm doing it. I don't know. It's just all just comes as it comes. And sometimes I get a little nervous because I don't know how this stuff is going to come out when I'm doing it in front of y'all. So I understand how, you know, athletes get nervous and just people performing, singers, all of that, because this stuff is not easy to do while you're being recorded or watched. I think because, now I'm going to tell you this, because I have the gradient going over such a vast area, it's not giving me the full effect that I want. So what I can go in and do is I can create this as a more extreme gradient, because I do want this to apply to the whole group. So what I'm doing right now is just kind of squishing some of these together. You see it changing over there. Now here's a tip for these gradients. If you already have some color set up and everything looks good and you just want more variations of that color, then I'm going to start from color 1. Color 1, bam, it just copied that color. Color 2, bam, it just copied that color. Color 3, bam, you get the idea. Color 4, bam. What did I stop? 4, 5, 6, bam. Put that one in there in the middle somewhere. And all it's doing is basically giving me more ups and downs in this gradient. And I don't have to follow a particular pattern. It's my gradient. I made it. I can make it whatever I want it to be. There are no rules to gradients. Just make them. I always tell people, if you need something to reference, get you a gold watch or something and put it on the screen, and then use this color picker and pick parts of the gold. As a matter of fact, I'll do that right now. I'll pick some of the gold that's already in this image, and it might even make it look more realistic or match better, because these are gold colors that I have kind of hand-picked. And already I'm liking that. I'm gonna take the stroke off, put it back on. Subtle, but I like it. I could do one more. I don't know, I always like to do like a little something extra with the stroke. And then this one will stay. This one will do a little bit bigger than the one in front of it, and we'll do it color, and we'll do, I usually either do white or black. I use white when I want it to pop out, kind of look like a sticker. And then I use black if I want it to look like it has a little denseness to it. There we go. I think I like the black better on this one. Whew. Alright guys. So I gotta wrap it up. I'm going to probably play with this some more before I make it an official template, but I just wanted you all to see what goes into making a template, since y'all always ask me to show you from the scratchage. And let me see if I got any questions or anything before. Well, geez Louise, little Android phone. I've been trying to switch to the iPhone, but I find myself using my old, I have 2 phones right now, and I'm trying to transition. I keep using this old Android phone because I'm so used to it. Hey Tiff, okay, she says she got to rewatch later. Oh, this will be up here, and we still have to do a formal tutorial on it too, for the template. All right, any questions guys before I let you all like have your night to yourself? All right, Ken says he's with me all the way. And Ken, we gotta matter of fact, I may do that. I may be able to get to that one tomorrow, the one where it had McGregor. With the, now that one is gold metallic, and it has like this sketch look to it, so that's going to be some fun to reproduce, some real fun to reproduce. So yeah, I'm excited. This is definitely keeping me in my zone. Y'all are keeping me busy. So if there aren't any other questions, I'm taking a look to see. Yes, Rona, I know this one was intense, and we didn't even like, I tried to already do a lot of the features of the metallic ahead of time, because that's probably took about an hour of me apply an effect, flipping it, applying it, flipping it again, applying it. And that's what you're doing. You're just taking the different filters and inversing it, doing different effects to it. So I try to save y'all that. Whew. All right, guys. So tomorrow we'll be doing probably Affinity, and I might even be doing it throughout the day. It might not be at night because I need to get those done. So whenever I do it, I'll do it. But it will also help you all with Photoshop too, because you'll see me build the fire template and the grunge. I think it was a grunge graduation template or something I did. No, the one with Muhammad Ali and Jordan. And Michael Jordan, that one, I'm going to do a version of it for Affinity. So we'll definitely show you how to do it in Photoshop too. Would I recommend taking a basic class in Photoshop? Honestly, I did in high school. I took a class in Photoshop. I will say you can do that with a 4-hour tutorial on YouTube. Reason why I say that is now information is so readily available that if you did a crash course, a 4-hour crash course in Photoshop just to learn the functions of it, once you start basically following these tutorials, you won't be left just looking for a particular tool or trying to get your setup right. And somebody asked me about that too. I can't remember who it was, but whenever your setup doesn't look like my setup and you don't know where your tools are, go up here to your windows, and if it's something that you're looking for, like if I said go to your layers and your layers weren't here, you can click on layers and it would show it to you. What else? Also, you have these workspaces where you can do, these are kind of pre-made. I have mine on graphic and web design right now, but you also have your essentials, and then it presets up the workspace for you. You have another one I use sometimes. I use essentials a lot, and then I use graphic and web, but you can also use painting. This is for people that are, you need your color swatches bigger and you need to see your brushes because you're painting. This will be good if you were doing this on your touchscreen device. This will be a really good setup to do. But yeah, they have different workspaces set up here. So if you don't see what I see, either do graphic and web or essentials, and then you can always add to this and rearrange them, push them over, set them up one on top of the other, all of that good stuff. So Ken, how are the templates working for you? Are you getting into them at all? Are you modifying stuff? Ashley's waiting on the affinities. Yeah, I told you I was coming with it. I'm coming with the affinity, and I will record them and leave them up. So even if you can't watch me do it live, I will definitely keep that up because I have been getting buku requests for affinity. And as I was saying earlier, Ashley, I don't know if you were here, but I have affinity on 2 iPads. So I really do want to learn it. One of my apprentices is a 13-year-old, and she's been learning affinity way faster than me because I haven't even been touching the iPad like that. I usually, I'm stuck on my PC, but she's been learning it, and all she does is watch videos. So I'm excited to be able to offer those not just the templates but the tutorials as well. All right, Ken. You have Affinity, but you wanted Photoshop? Right, so Affinity can open Photoshop files, but not the reverse. So you could always open those files up in Affinity, the Photoshop files, but you will have some limitations. You know how it calls those layers pixels? It'll turn them into pixel layers when they're really effects. So if you have a glowing effect or a drop shadow effect, it will just take it and make it straight up pixels. And that's not what you want, because if you change your text, you want that drop shadow to change. If you change this shape or object, you want that glow to change. And I think I did a video tutorial where I did the airbrush effect. I did the airbrush effect in Photoshop, and then I went and replicated that same thing in Affinity, and I was able to find some of the things that, they must not have this in Affinity. So I was able to mimic it, but I had to do some extra steps. Like you can only do one stroke, one drop shadow, one outer glow. But in Photoshop, I can do almost as many strokes as I want to do. I can do a stroke on top of the drop shadow and make one transparent and the other one solid color so that they blend together. You can't do that in Affinity. So that when I do all these special effects, like to the edges of the text and graphics, it doesn't do that as robust. There is a way that I cheated and got it to work for the airbrush template. So cool. All right, so we're gonna start getting into this Affinity then. All right, my loves, I gotta check out and get on this conference call tonight for the artists that are going to be helping you all and me. So hopefully I'll be able to get them acquainted this upcoming week, and we'll be able to get templates out faster, and we'll be able to help you. So I'm excited for that. All right, loves, without further ado, I'm going to let you go, and we'll check you later. Love you all. Bye.